Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's topic is going to talk about or dive into the issue of picking your battles when you're fighting or you're dealing with a narcissistic ex. I think so often that you hear me say that, you hear other people say that, but you lose it in the context. And I want to dive into this. The whole idea for this topic came from a post that I'm going to read of a share of a meme that was on Facebook that I think really illustrates this point to a T. But before I jump into that, I'm Duane, and if you want to get your life back, break the cycle of emotional abuse, rebuild the relationship with yourself and your kids, start right now by clicking the subscribe button, ring that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. So the thing on this, and I'm gonna read this to you because it's if I can get it to go to the point where I can actually see it well. And the meme on this is, so you can't afford a lawyer to lower the child support that you don't pay, or so you can afford a lawyer. So you can afford or pay the lawyer to lower the child support that you don't pay. It's okay. I know you're saving for a pair of replacement-ish items, yada, yada. So, and then the text that goes with this, and that actually kind of, when I saw that was like, that's an interesting thing. So the story on this is narcissists use the court to abuse you yet again. I paid child support for my son until he was 16, when he came to live with me and my wife. When he was graduating and going to college, we filed for child support, which would go to his expenses until he was 21. My narc ex-wife pleaded poverty, though she made $6,000 a month and hired an attorney to fight it. Okay, if you're impoverished, how do you pay the retainer for an attorney and for the hours at over $200 an hour? She would rather pay the attorney than give the money to her son for school. She paid enough to the attorney to make a year's child support. When support was ordered, she paid for the attorney to appeal the decision. She lost, then refused to pay, so the state had to take it out of her wages numerous times. When she filed a case in court where we live, keep in mind she lives 2,700 miles away, and came to court each time spending a lot of money just to harass me, but also to distress our son. Now it's all over, but this just goes to show you that narcissists are high conflict people who would rather spend money on attorneys than their own kids. This was consistent with her approach the entire time my son was in her custody as well. Senseless legal action. Okay. So here's the thing on this. When I say pick your battles, you really have to think that through. You really have to take a moment and really think about what's going on. So to be perfectly honest, if you don't, you are setting yourself up for a lot of grief. I think everything in this story really boils down to that each time does the line where the person says that came to court each time traveling 2,700 miles just to harass the person and to distress their son. I would highly encourage somebody to seriously think before you just do what you know. See, here's the problem. You want to hold them accountable. You want them to pay their part. You want them to not just ignore everything that's going on. I get that. I completely understand that. The problem is you have to look at the real cost to it. And I get it. I mean, I did something recently myself where I sent an innocuous email to my ex where I made a comment about, because she isn't paying medical, and I'm like, hey, oh, by the way, you're working now, so can we work on a stipulation to change, have child support adjusted, or do I need to take you back to court? The firestorm that has come as a result of that, not toward me. I have not received one response to any emails from her over the last couple of months. Obviously, there was no response there. What's happened is she's now triangulating our youngest daughter, which absolutely makes sense. I should have even expected this to happen. And I went from a situation where, my youngest was really uncomfortable with her mom, was getting, basically neglected by her. And now all of a sudden, the situation I'm in is my youngest during a transition day came back, had a blowout with me. Basically I'm persona non grata. I can't talk to you, daddy, anymore. You don't understand. This is not for you. This whole diatribe of stuff, which is, it's apparent and very obvious now in retrospect that she's now refocusing her attentions onto her daughter so that she will choose her. And the reality is that typically children are so attention deprived from a narcissistic parent that when they get that attention, they gobble it up like they're starving, animals, meaning our children. And so I've taken a situation that was very stable, and by trying to fight back or trying to basically poke her in the eye, because I knew she wasn't going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fair, let's do it. Now I'm dealing with a situation where it's affecting my relationship with my daughter. This person in here, that is that line I just read. I'll read it again. Keep in mind, she lived 2,700 miles away and came to court each time, spending a ton of money, a lot of money, just to harass me and also to distress our son. A narcissistic person does not care about anything other than themselves and winning. If you back them in the corner, they are going to make it as difficult as possible. Now, I can see how you can look at it and say, well, they shouldn't get away with it. You're letting them get away with it. To harass me and also distress my son. So this whole process took months, right? I mean, this guy may have ultimately won, but now he's spent a ton of money in attorney fees. The stress, the anxiety, God only knows what happened between, their home life during all this. That is when someone says you have to pick your battles, that's the thing. It's like really, really look at it. Look at what exactly you're doing. Look at what the fight is and really think about this. And this goes, I know this particular story is talking about it in a family court situation. It's very similar in the work situation. You have to decide what is really important. There are times where you don't have a choice. Like in this particular story that I was just reading, if this was different and let's say this individual wasn't getting to see his son, visitation was being denied, she was violating, this person was violating a court order anyways because they weren't paying child support. But you really have to decide, that's a situation where you really don't have a choice. You have to fight. You have to do something to change it because they're running, open loop. If you have a situation that's relatively calm and things are going okay, not away, then really think about it. Take a pause. Really ask yourself, is it worth it? For this person, I wish I knew who wrote this and I could ask a question. Was this worth it? Was this fight ultimately worth it to get, who knows how much it was for what the child support would be, but do you really need it? I was told 3 years ago, I think it was when my son fell off the child support, and I was talking to child support, the Department of Child Support Services, and they told me that, hey, she should be working, we can impute her wages, say the word and we'll start it. And I didn't want to deal with the shit show, for lack of a better word, just to be crass for a moment, for it. And I've been putting it off. And it's one of those things where it's like I'm really torn with what is, what's worth it. Is it really worth it for me to have a knockdown drag out for a couple of $100, maybe $400, maybe $500 at the most a month? That $400 or $500 would help a lot, especially with my rent going up like it did before. That would be a good thing. That would be very helpful. Is it worth it to press that button to have my kids, our kids basically in this situation, used as pawns to fight that. I don't know how many times I've talked to people over the last few years where they get into a situation where they're really frustrated that their ex is not paying enough, or they're only paying $100 and they should be paying $200. It's noise floor money. I mean, I get that money. I mean, it's like you really have to think about it, because every time a person that has the kid and the ex is not involved and is absentee and isn't around, every time somebody says, okay, you know what, I'm taking you back to court for more child support, when you're dealing with a narcissist, most of the time, what's going to happen is they're going to completely go after for more custody of the kids. They're definitely going to try to turn them and try to paint you as a bad person, all that kind of stuff. And you really have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is your situation so bad financially or whatever it is, whatever the situation is it so bad that it's worth the risk of what the cost is going to be? Most of the time when I talk to people, they say no, and they wish they wouldn't have done it. You have to look at the true cost of from the emotional, financial, relationship costs, everything across, everything involved in it, to really make the decision on what's the right move. And it's tough. It is, like the situation I was telling you about with me just a couple of weeks, or last week, basically, I wish I wouldn't have said anything. It's like, really, what is the point? I almost made I effectively took the bait, got goat roped in. Everything I talked to you guys about, I made the mistake. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't thinking about it. It happened really quick. I got fed some information from my daughter, which just sent me down a rabbit hole, and it turned into a colossal mess. And amazingly enough, we were en route to meet her brother and my son for dinner. And as we pull up, her mom is doing something, probably doing Pokemon, because that's what she likes to do. Was out, and I'm just like, I just left. We didn't even go in. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm walking out of this car with us in this situation, with my daughter upset, I'm angry, and she's right there. It's like, oh my God, I completely took the bait. I fell in the trap. I was completely played. I wasn't anticipating it, and I was completely flabbergasted that I was going down this path with my daughter. Now, we've since figured, I calmed down, was able to undo it, and we were able to get things back together. And I'll tell you, just as a side note, I know that's a little bit off topic for this, but I just want to hit this. When I realized that I'd been pushed too much and I wasn't in a place to do it, I removed myself from the situation. We got home, and I basically, when I got my son back, I went to sleep early. I'm like, there is no reason for me to even, I wasn't emotionally in a spot to have a rational conversation. So we did it the next day. So these situations are really tough, and you really have to look at what the ultimate cost is going to be on this. Guys, it's tough. You want your ex to pay their fair share. You want them to have to deal with it. The problem is they do everything in their power to make things a living hell. If you're in the beginning stages of litigation in the first part of your divorce, you have to go all out. It is war, and go for it. But once things have stabilized, and if you got to remember what is truly important. What is important? What's important is, if you have children, that the stability for them and a good relationship with them. That should be your guiding light on your decisions. Any decision that jeopardizes that or puts that at risk, you really have to think through. In this situation, it sounds like mom was not even involved, had basically checked out whenever the kid went to live with dad, was like, hey, I'll take your money and I'll do whatever. And then stick with that. You don't need to be in a situation where you're provoking the bear. And this isn't saying that they have extra power or they are, getting away with things. Remember stay focused on what is truly important. What is important to you? Is getting back at your ex important to you? Okay, I understand that in a lot of ways, yes, that does play a part. But is it really? Fighting with a narcissist, fighting with somebody who doesn't play fair, who has no morals, who has no concept of anything other than their own self-interest at the expense of everybody around them, to include their children, is it worth it to engage in that if you have stability in your life? Now, if you don't have, look, this could be a complete different situation if this person was saying, he never got to see his kids and he was alienated and he's trying to force an issue to be able to see his kids. I get that, right? That's a different scenario. If your life is basically stable, find a way to just keep them at bay. Let them think that you're unhappy. Let them think that they're winning. Like probably in this situation, his ex was probably happy that she wasn't paying and it was all on him and she was probably all smug. And who cares? Who cares? Right? As I say that, I should have not sent that email with what I said. And I didn't even say anything bad. My thing was, hey, since you're working now, you want to agree to a stipulation to change the child support, or do I need to take you back to court? Pretty banal. I mean, okay, a little sarcastic. And, it's something that could have done 3 years ago, but I shouldn't have done it. That was sent in a point when I was doing my monthly billing, and she's jabbing our son in the eye about not paying things and not taking care of stuff for him. And I was like, you know what? Let me just push a little bit. And what did it do? It put my relationship with my 14-year-old at risk. And to be honest, I didn't, and probably part of it is I thought that relationship was rock solid, and I forgot the reality of the situation that I'm in and that all of us are in. Don't lose sight of that. You have to keep that in mind. You have to remember that, because these people don't care. And when they change their targeting, whenever they go, oh crap, I need to do something different, they are vicious about it. They don't care. And if you have kids who are starved for attention from the other parent, it's a dangerous game, because if they decide all of a sudden to start giving them that, and especially if they're covert about it, the kid, your child, the target, is going to eat it up. Focus on the real issue. Your peace, your stability, the relationship with your kid. That is the critical point on this. Nothing else really matters. Focus on that. Fight whenever it's really important. When there's an issue that is super critical, if it's medical care, okay, fine. Schools, whatever. Just really think about your decision before you go into combat with one of these people, because you never know what they're capable of doing. It's one of those things where I see this a lot. And it's really tough because I know that people are just like, you know what, I need, okay, we'll throw some money at this, and you don't often expect the firestorm that's going to come out of it, and you have to really decide whether it's worth it. Look, if you're struggling with this and you could use some coaching, book some time with me over at dadsurvivingdivorce.com/coaching. We can deep dive into your specific issue and help you get back on track. It's just tough. It's really frustrating to see people, and I get it. I've been in this situation on multiple times throughout the last 8 years. I completely understand. And you really have to look at why you want to fight with them, why you want to go to battle with them, and really look at the cost. It's like, and it's not just a money thing, If you have $10,000 in the bank and you're ready, like, you know what? I'm good to throw this down and make them pay. A lot of time, the stress that comes from it, it's like it's not worth it. And I think most of the time what happens is you throw a couple of thousand and don't realize it's going to cost you 10 and you're not expecting it. And then you're sitting there going, oh my God, I'm in this nightmare. I didn't need to be in this nightmare. I'm stressed. My new relationship is stressed, like in this person's situation. My kid's distressed. And it's like it wasn't worth it. Think about your battle before you get into it. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. If you have some thoughts on this, I would love to hear your comments down below on how you've dealt with this, because I'm sure most of you guys have dealt with this. That would be the question of the day, is how have you dealt with finally realizing what's truly important and what's worth fighting? And on that, I will chat with you in the next video. Take care.